There are no stupid questions in fishing, but there are plenty of wrong answers. And crazier, there really aren't any right ones. At least not ones that work every time, and very few that work even most of the time. And once you get that, you stop agonizing over what the fish should want and start doing what actually makes them bite. So when my son and his friends got into high school and really got into bass fishing, they all started peppering me with a lot of fishing questions. And they would ask questions like, hey, is this bait going to work today? Or do you think we can catch him over here? And what about trying this or trying that one? And after asking a bunch of questions, one day one of them called me out and said, I ask you all the time if this bait will work, and you'll say maybe. And I say, well, what about this one? You say, well, it depends, or sometimes. And I kind of had an epiphany at that moment, and it really, struck home, and I tried to explain it to him, and this is what I'm going to try to explain to you as well. To me, I think this is one of the hardest lessons to learn in bass fishing, and it's something that some of us never learn, and even when we do it a long time, we kind of forget it and have to relearn it, and we struggle with it, because as humans, our nature is we want definitive answers. We want yes or no answers. And if you're starting to bass fish, you want the answer of what's the best color in muddy water? Is it chartreuse? Chartreuse and white? Is it black? What's the color? And after a cold front, what do? I want the answer. What's the answer? So to me, this is one of the secrets of bass fishing. If you can figure out a rule of thumb that works like 40% of the time, that's really, really good. And if you can figure out something that works 60% of the time, that's legendary. That's like as good as you're going to get. Now, this problem isn't just related to noobs and beginners. The more you fish, the more you start to think that you actually know the answers and actually know what they should be doing. So it's what the fish should be doing. And you get locked in that, well, these are the baits that work. These are the spots they should be at. Conditions are this, so they should be doing this. And the problem is you run that stuff, and then all of a sudden you don't catch it on it. You feel really defeated. It feels hopeless. You can fall into a trap like, man, I fished all my best baits and all my best spots, what they should be doing. They're not doing it. I guess they don't read the same books as us. How many times you heard that line? But basically, you're ready to give up. You're like, man, you just feel defeated. Like, well, I don't even know what to do anymore. I've fished for 20 years, but man, I have no clue what they're doing. It's time to give up. And then the flip side of this is, we want to fill in the patterns, so what we do is when we start to catch a few fish, all of a sudden we jump to conclusions literally and start to think, well, I do have the answer. I've figured this out. AI gets a bad rap, rightfully so, because it does what's called hallucinations. And basically, it's great at going out and it can grab some information if you ask it a question. The thing is, if it gets a piece of information here and a piece of information here, what it does is it tries to fill in those gaps. It hallucinates. It'll make up data. It'll fill it in. And that's why everybody says, man, I don't trust AI. It hallucinates. It won't just stick to the actual source material, or it won't stick to actual data. It just makes stuff up. Well, guess what? As fishermen, and us veterans are probably the most guilty of this, we do the same thing. It's human nature. You want to fill in the blanks, the details. So after you catch 2 fish in the morning, what do? The first 2 have been on docks. Right away, you've only been fishing for 20 minutes. Your first 2 are on docks. You've only gone 100 yards of bank. Well, all of a sudden your mind says, oh, dude, they're on docks today. And I caught them on a spinnerbait, and they were on the shady side. And I paused it, and that's the deal. And then you're locked in, and you've hallucinated this whole pattern when it was, well, the shad were just happened to be there, or I don't know, whatever. There were just 2 docks on these ones because they were deeper or something. It had nothing to do with those 2 docks, but it was just a location. Whatever it was, like, we've already filled in the blanks, and now you spent the next 4 hours doing it. So this is a trap for all of us. Now, to me, this is a good way to spot a noob or somebody who's not a great fisherman, maybe just getting started or doesn't understand what they don't know, versus a pro. And when you ask them a question about something, a pattern, a lake, if you ask the less experienced person or the less good fisherman, they'll give you a rapid answer and with conviction, and they'll tell you, yeah, this is what you do, this bait always works, this is the color, this is the deal in the lake. Go to a seminar sometime, and one of the top pros, ask them a question, and you notice that they'll all draw in a deep breath and kind of roll their head for a second before they answer, and it's just, there's all this stuff spinning in their mind, and they're trying to figure out how to answer it, and there's 8,000, is the spinnerbait the best bait for the shad spawn? And they're calculating that 8 million times went fishing, and yeah, if the wind's blowing here, and I like small blades if it's this. I mean, there's so many things to consider. Most of them don't bark out a quick response. When they are confident, when they give stuff, and watch some of my videos, a lot of times I speak with a lot of confidence and say, this is the best bait for the spring, or after the cold front, do this. You speak with a lot of conviction. Same with pros and tournaments, but that's a little bit more of sports psychology. You have to imagine a starting pitcher. He has to have confidence in his curveball when he throws it. If he doesn't, he's going to get blown up. So you have to convince yourself, I've got a good curveball. I can get this over. If I throw it in the right spot, I'm going to get him out. You have to do that when you're throwing your bait, when you're out there fishing. Believe that the bait that I have, this is working. I'm in the right spot. You have to convince yourself. And when things are working, you do better if you do it with conviction. The flip side is, if I throw my best curveball 5 times to batters and 3 of them go for a home run, well, at that point, it's like exuberance, irrational exuberance, as they call it in the stock market. You're having confidence in something when it's really not that good. You think you're great. You think you have the answers. Actually, you don't. That guy's going to throw a changeup, literally, or a fastball instead of throwing the curveball. Same with you fishing. Same thing applies. To me, intelligence has always meant not knowing everything. It's when you get to the point where you truly understand how little you know, how much you don't know. And that's, I think, in fishing, never been more true than now. When forward-facing sonars come out, all of a sudden, all these truths that we had for years and what we thought fish did and how they acted and how they reacted, all of a sudden, it's been shown so much of it is false. And we believed these things and thought 100% they were true. The more you do anything, whether it's golf, fishing, you name it, the more you do it, you understand, wow, this is pretty complicated. There are way more things going into it than I thought. And not knowing it all, not having a solid answer, that's not a sign of not being good. That's understanding exactly how complex it is, fully understanding it, and the first step in moving forward. And here's the thing about fishing. So you have to understand there are so many variables. Like if AI at some point is going to write a model of exactly what bait to throw and how to throw it, anytime there's a model like the weather forecast model, basically they're putting a lot of inputs in there. That's very complex. To forecast the weather tomorrow, they've kind of got that down. Forecasting it like 5 days in a row, even for the best models right now, super difficult. And 2 weeks out, like a 100% a crapshoot. General trends maybe, but they can't even get that right. For anyone to write a model for fishing, there are so many variables and they change second to second. Is it calm or windy? Well, the wind keeps gusting back and forth, or every time I move to the back side of the dock, it's calm. I move to the front, it's blowing one direction. It's swirling around from the other one. There's a little bit of waves striking it here. The sun just went behind a cloud. Now it's back out. Now there's another cloud. It's just, the bait moved in. Oh, they moved back out. Oh, they're circling around. Now a pike just swam through here, so the bass are afraid. I mean, there's so many variables that just change second to second, day to day. So it's complex. I don't think AI is ever going to be able to write a model that tells you exactly what to do. So for us, not knowing it, again, you have to come up with what to do based on, I'm not going to know all the truth. So what do? You don't throw up your hands and just quit. How do you move forward? So I think it starts with a mindset change. And here's the big thing. We rely so much on what they should be doing. They should be eating this. They should be here. That's all nice to start out, but you have to have kind of a process, and it's way more important to understand what they are doing right now, what they are eating, where they are at versus where they should be. Doesn't matter at all. Where did you just catch them? That's what's important. What lure did they just bite? Now that's really important. And there is a process for this. You start experimenting. It's actually called an experiment. That's how science deals with it, and I think the scientific method kind of sheds some light on here. What do they do in science? You start with assumptions, theories, what you think should work. That's they should be here, they should be on this bait. And that's great. You want to test that. But you run experiments. And experiments in the boat, it's not necessarily a controlled situation because it's changing all the time, but they continually test and experiment to see if what they think is correct holds up, and then what they think is wrong Well, let's test that too to see maybe it actually is right. And let's just prove that it's wrong. You kind of need to keep that experimental mindset. Forget what they should be doing. It's like keep more of an open mind where I'm going to try a little bit of everything. What I don't think should work, the places I don't think they should be, I need to test it. I'm going to test it. I'm going to experiment, and I'm going to find out what they actually are doing. So we're going from that mindset of should to experiment. And just that mindset shift, going from should to experiment, I think is going to take a weight off your mind of all of a sudden you're feeling like you're wrong to actually I'm learning, I'm finding information every time I do this instead of I'm always wrong. I just learned something new. They're not here. They're not biting this. They are here. They are biting this. Who cares what they should be doing? I just caught 30 fish in the back of the cove. It's the middle of summer. It's too hot for them to be back here. But guess what? They're all good ones. And what's the classic definition of insanity? And what no scientist does? It's doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. That's pretty much a scientific bedrock principle right there. What do? Well, we throw the spinnerbait, and I love a spinnerbait, and I'm going to catch him on it. And if I don't catch him on laydowns in this creek, I'm going to go to the next creek, and I'm going to ttry it there. And if I don't catch him there, well, I'm going to go to the next creek too. And yeah, the next one might have shad in the back. It might be muddier. It might work. But that's also the definition of insanity. After 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours, you're still doing this. It's a death march. Change it up. Go experiment. Try something different. And you know some other bad advice? Everybody always tells you trust your gut. And they also tell you all these things you should do. Well, guess what? Half the time, your mind is tricking your gut, and what everybody else is doing isn't working because everybody else is doing it. Check out these videos, address that, or check out the full playlist talking about the mental mindset. I think all these will help you get out of the trap of doing what they should be doing and actually doing what they are doing, and catch a few more in the process.